place to hide, no place to run, no place to run. The mutant age has now begun. X-Men, X-Men, this is the day, this is the day. X-Men, X-Men, coming your way. Magneto's hordes are on the way to pillage, burn, and plunder. But there's one team that will not yield, the team that strikes like thunder. X-Men, X-Men, this is the day, this is the day. X-Men, X-Men, coming your way.
Hey guys, Noel here, and it is Thursday. Well, we got a little bit of free time on our hands, so I thought it'd be fun to do a video discussing one of my favorite things ever, and that is the Pryde of the X-Men Marvel VHS tape pilot of the X-Men. This is the first dedicated X-Men cartoon. This was distinct from the X-Men animated series that became famous on Fox and Saturday mornings. Today we're going to not only talk about the VHS tape, we're also going to take a look at Marvel Age Magazine's coverage of Pryde of the X-Men, talk a little bit about some of the history and trivia about Pryde of the X-Men, and then also do some lost media exploration and detective work about Pryde of the X-Men. Before we get into the video proper, let me just give you a little bit of an introduction about my experiences with Pryde of the X-Men and why it's so important to me. So when I was in, so I would have probably been like 5. And, you know, my mom had this little 11-inch black and white TV in her room, and I would watch cartoons on it. And I saw this one cartoon, and it was X-Men. It was the Pryde of the X-Men. I had no idea what it is. I just kind of would see it randomly here and there. And I was like, oh, it's that X-Men cartoon. That's, like, interesting and cool. And the reason it kind of stood out to me is I recognized Wolverine, because I had seen Wolverine in this JCPenney catalog that my mom had, and I would, like, look through it. And it had the Secret Wars toy collection, and it had the Wolverine in his Earth Tone suit. And I always thought Wolverine looked interesting because I really liked Batman, and I thought Wolverine kind of looked like a kind of a knockoff Batman, but was like really distinct and cool because he had those claws. And so I don't know, it was just, he really kind of struck me. Wolverine just struck me. And when I was in second grade, a few years later, we had these book orders, these like Scholastic book orders, and they had the Pryde of the X-Men VHS tape. They also had a VHS tape of Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. So I definitely ordered this tape. Okay, this is not the tape from the book order, because I believe the book order tape got stolen. The book order books came in, I went to my cubby, and there was no X-Men tape in my cubby, and I was very disappointed and puzzled, and it was like, why is this not in my cubby? I think someone stole it. And I'm pretty sure I know who. I never accused this person of doing it, but this person all of a sudden was really like into Nightcrawler and loved Nightcrawler. And if you've watched Pryde of the X-Men, you know that Nightcrawler is like the kind of the hero of the episode. So I'm pretty sure that kid stole my tape, watched it, and then liked Nightcrawler as a result of it. So I never got to have this tape. And then I would see clips of this tape during 1991-92 broadcasts of Star Trek The Next Generation on Fox 68 WSYT in Syracuse, New York. And so basically what I found out is that there would be this commercial, and I knew it was from this X-Men cartoon, and it used to like mesmerize me. It would like go like X-Men, X-Men, and it would have like all these clips of the cartoon. I'm like, that's the 80s X-Men cartoon. Like, and it looked so cool. It had like Wolverine like jumping toward the screen, and it had this like ending shot of the X-Men like standing on the side of the Earth. And I thought like, oh my God, this is like the coolest thing ever. And it just, anytime that commercial would come on, I would like either run in the room or get like super excited, and then it stopped being broadcast. And I just had it in my mind like, oh man, that's like the best commercial ever. Like what the, like I love that commercial. And then, you know, years and years and years later, when I was in college, there was a store called Area 51, and I was browsing around and I found this tape, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I think this is the tape that I didn't get in my book order. And so I got it, I took it home, I popped it in the VHS tape, and I immediately knew that this was what was used in the commercial from like the opening credits and the closing scene of the X-Men on the side of the Earth and things like that. In this video, we're going to do a little lost media detective work and exploration, while at the same time talking about some of the behind-the-scenes development of Pryde of the X-Men, and doing a nice read through and exploration of this Marvel Age magazine that discusses Pryde of the X-Men, when everything looked like it was going to not just be a pilot, but was going to be a green-lit animated series that featured, the 80s X-Men. Obviously, if you played arcade games in the early 90s, you'll know that the Konami X-Men arcade game is based off of Pryde of the X-Men. And that game also has a fantastic soundtrack and very, very cool stuff. So while the Fox Kids X-Men cartoon was, very cool and iconic, it lacked the, I think, quality visually of the Pryde of the X-Men, and nothing really approached its quality until TV Tokyo decided to do its own openings to the X-Men, for the Japanese localization. Those are on my channel, and the Noel Comics YouTube channel is the first channel to upload those themes in their totality. And I also have a full episode of TV Tokyo X-Men on the Noel Comics YouTube channel. Check those out. But today, we're talking about the other X-Men anime that really captures the essence of 80s X-Men. It's Pryde of the X-Men. Let's talk about it in its totality right now. Okay, so let's start talking about my quest for the lost Pryde of the X-Men commercial from my youth. The commercial that made me fall in love with this anime. Do a little bit of a lost media section to this video, right? So as I said in the intro, I remember there being this commercial that featured the Pryde of the X-Men. And I didn't even know it was Pryde of the X-Men. I just remember these were clips from a cartoon I remembered from my youth that was X-Men. And this commercial played the theme song, the X-Men, and it had all these like awesome looking clips of 80s X-Men, and I just thought it was like the coolest thing ever. And nobody around me knew what I was talking about, so I reached out to some of my friends on Facebook. I know this local comic book author, so I reached out to him and I said, man, as you can see on the screen here, do you remember this commercial played during Star Trek The Next Generation on WSYT, Fox 68? And he's like, I think it's from Twilight Book and Game. And then he kind of second-guessed himself. But he was really into Pryde of the X-Men, and he sent me, and I have the Marvel Age magazine. He starts talking to me about some facts here. So let's, because I told him I was doing a video about Pryde of the X-Men. I'm going to tell you some of the stuff that he told me that he knew here. Some facts in case you don't have it in your research. This was the last superhero show by Marvel Productions, which had formerly been DePatie Freelong Studios, under which they'd made Pink Panther and Dr. Seuss specials. Marvel Productions began in 1978 with Fantastic Four, had Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, Spider-Woman, and the Incredible Hulk. Now, I remember 1960s Marvel cartoons that were crudely animated Jack Kirby drawings, and I have a Namor Submariner, and that's the one I have. It's got Namor Submariner. And that actually did have the 60s X-Men in it. It was, like, really funny. It had, like, Iceman, just, like, a still picture of him and his legs moving. It was, like, really funny.
Be on guard, friends. My mutant brain senses danger.
Look! A drill pouring through the floor of the lobby.
Ah! Little did they dream that the Mole Man would dare attempt such a brazen attack. Smash everything, my brainless slaves.
Professor X calling. Red alert! Red alert! Mayday! Mayday!
Hurry! The professor needs us.
But who dare threaten us now?
Whoever it is, we have the power to handle them.
An immodest remark, but voracious withal, partner.
Hurry! There he is.
Anyway, Marvel Productions created the first animated commercial for a comic book with G.I. Joe #1 in 1982. Margaret Loesch. Now, I had known her from the research I had done about Pryde of the X-Men. Then producer at Marvel Productions really wanted to do an X-Men cartoon. Believing in the concept, she reallocated, you might know this, you all who watch this might know this, the budget from an episode of the RoboCop cartoon they were doing to do a pilot of Pryde of the X-Men. So they were 13 episodes. They did 12 RoboCops and 1 X-Men. Toei Animation was Marvel's chief overseas animation production house. The budget for X-Men was higher than usual, resulting in higher quality animation than most Marvel productions at the time. And this does look like a Japanese anime. It's fantastic. The pilot aired in syndication via Marvel's anthology series, The Marvel Action Universe, between 1988 and 1990. Earl Bowen, notable criminal psychiatrist, Dr. Peter Cyberman, and the Terminator voiced Magneto. I did not know that. This is, I found interesting. Wolverine's Australian accent was not a mistake. At the time, Marvel had been swept in 80s Australian mania and planned to retcon Logan as an Australian expat who relocated to Canada. The memo was sent out, and eventually it was targeted for a 1988 to 1989 release in the X books. However, the company-wide Inferno event that had, Black Queen, where they kind of screwed over the Madeline Pryor character, proved to be a massive, sprawling saga, and as a result, the retcon fell through the cracks and was eventually scrapped. So that was some, cool information. And then I said, well, you know what, man? I have this Marvel magazine here, and we're going to take a look at this in the next portion of this video here. So before we get into that, I want to show you my next move that I made here. So there was a Facebook page called Nostalgic Syracuse. I went on YouTube and I started scouring Fox 68 WSYT commercials from 1990 to 1993. I did find some stuff, but nothing that I was looking for. So I just went on this Facebook page called Nostalgic Syracuse, and I put this post out. I said, hi, and I had talked to some people in the comment sections of different things, and they kind of knew what I was talking about. Some did, some didn't. I write this post here. Hi, I've chatted a bit about this, but I figured I'd make a post. Does anyone have any info on a Pryde of the X-Men commercial for a comic shop that played its theme song? It ran during episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation on WSYT. It was around the 91-93 period, doing a YouTube video on this VHS tape, and I was mesmerized by it. So this guy here says it's Twilight Book and Game. Its owner's name was Bobby. Some guy suggests same Bat channel in Carousel Mall. Some people suggested Dream Days. I contacted a guy who did a commercial for Dream Days, Joe Orsak. He said he did a commercial for them, animated stuff, but it did not have X-Men in it. Found the guy who owned Twilight Book and Game's wife. She got called in on this here, and she said she doesn't remember doing any commercials, but that was 30 years ago. Now, this is where things get interesting here, right? This guy's like, it was Twilight Book and Game, and he saw a VHS recording of them advertising on Star Trek, but not X-Men. And I said, I know. Because as I was thumbing through commercials on YouTube, looking at the Fox 68 WSYT commercials during Star Trek, there was a Twilight Book and Game commercial from 1987. Now, I knew that couldn't be right because the X-Men cartoon came out in 1989. But this commercial I found to be very interesting. Let's check it out right now.
And now, another reason to shop at Twilight Book and Game Emporium.
Star Trek at Twilight!
Here at Twilight, we carry a complete line of the ongoing adventures of the Starship Enterprise, including the new line of merchandise from Star Trek The Next Generation. Yes, from books to games to videos, Twilight has it all.
Star Trek at Twilight! Star Trek at Twilight! Star Trek at Twilight! And more!
Twilight, the place to boldly go when you're bored with reality.
Beam me up, Scotty!
Okay, so I found that commercial to be wildly enjoyable, right? So I'm like, yeah, I saw the commercial that you're talking about, but there was no X-Men, just some nerdy guy in a Star Trek uniform acting like some kind of magical elf. Well, guess who pops up in the comment section? That elf guy who worked at Twilight. His name was Paul, And he thought this was very funny that I said this is I was instructed to Pee Wee Herman it up, Star Trek at Twilight, you know. So I was like super excited. I was talking to the guy from this commercial here. I remembered at the end of the commercial, it had this clip of the X-Men standing on the Earth and Wolverine jumping toward the screen. So I start chatting with Paul here, the Star Trek at Twilight guy, and he's like, listen, while I worked there, DC and Marvel would provide prefabricated commercials that stores would tack on their store information and partially fund the cost of them. Twilight did a few of those in the 90s. I'm guessing where that's the X-Men commercial is from. And he had this Sandman ad that, you know, Twilight was able to tack its information on. And, you know, then I'm like, I'm pretty sure the commercial was shown during the 91-93 period. I was in the second grade. And then he's like, was this the ad right here? And I clicked on it, and it was it. He had found the Star Trek at Twilight guy had found the ad. So I was ecstatic. And I had finally found this ad. I had spent, like, I'd been praying to St. Anthony, you know, as soon as I was trying to make this video, it's like I really wanted this ad in this video. So without further ado, you know, lost media found. Actually, I don't know if it's lost media, more like obscure media found and highlighted. Here it is, the X-Men commercial from my youth. Maybe fall in love with Pryde of the X-Men. Here it is right now.
When you're looking for action, adventure, excitement, X marks the spot. It's Wolverine, Colossus, Dazzler, Nightcrawler, Storm. It's the most popular team in superhero history. Every month in Marvel Comics. X-Men. Look for Marvel Comics where X marks the spot.
This is Michael Tierney inviting you to visit the comic book store at Little Rock and Collector's Edition Comics in North Little Rock.
Okay, so we are now into the portion of this video where we are going to check out the Marvel Age magazine that I own, talking about Pryde of the X-Men. I scanned in these pages, so this is off of my magazine. I did find some other scans online of a couple other Marvel Age magazines that also discuss Pryde of the X-Men, but this is the issue that really goes in depth here. So the front cover has this, which was the cover to one of the VHS tapes, the original VHS tape release of Pryde of the X-Men, and the back cover has this sheet of the characters' backs. Dazzler making leggings popular. You know, apparently Pyro is too. Okay, and Storm looking good, everyone looking good. All right. This page here, it's got a little Magneto head, and there's nothing really about X-Men on this page other than the bottom corner here discusses some releases of X-Men. So since we know that you're anxious as we come out with these fall titles and mutant storylines, we'll keep it short and sweet. This month's list of the top best-selling titles in the direct sales market. And then it just says, like, you know, these are the top titles here. All right, so moving on here. This is a big old picture of Cyclops and Dazzler. X-Men very heavily featured in this issue with clips of the Pryde of the X-Men team. And then some pictures from characters of Pryde of the X-Men. I really do like how they have Cyclops' eyes, like, kind of redded out in his visor, which is a pretty cool look right there. Okay, so this is the good stuff here. It is a really extended article talking about Pryde of the X-Men. So let's read through this here, and we'll check it out. This is the Extra The Mutant Report. Behind-the-scenes exclusive report on the making of the animated X-Men. So let's check it out here. Veni Video Vici. This is an old Latin motto meaning I came, I appeared on TV, I conquered. And very soon this motto may be claimed by the Uncanny X-Men when they appear in their own animated television series. When will this be? time and fate will decide. So far, only the pilot has been completed, and the good folks at Marvel Productions in Los Angeles are hard at work developing it into a full-fledged series. Perhaps we'll see the X-Men as a Saturday morning attraction, or perhaps as a syndicated daily show. But one thing's for sure, seeing such popular characters as Professor X, Storm, Wolverine, Colossus, Nightcrawler, Dazzler, Kitty Pryde, and Lockheed on television is a spectacle of, dare we say, uncanny fascination. Visiting the Marvel Productions offices the week before Christmas, I screened the pilot through the generosity of co-producers Rick Hoberg and Larry Houston, and special thanks as well to Stan the Man and his terrific assistant Lana Poland. The creative team on the show is comprised of Rick and Larry. Their third co-producer, Will, looks like, is that French, like Mignot, veteran scripter Larry Parr, as well as designer Russ Heath, as well as Stan himself. While watching the show, while watching the show was a nice present, or was a nice Christmas present, as I could have asked for. Nonetheless, I scrutinized the characters carefully, see how faithfully they were transposed to the screen, remembering how, when I was a kid, minor inconsistencies in the 1968 Spider-Man cartoon drove me crazy. Fortunately for my sanity, the producers of X-Men have devoted extra care to bringing our favorite mutants to the screen intact, making only those changes that they deemed absolutely necessary for the animation medium. For continuity buffs, the show can be set roughly during the peak of the Chris Claremont and John Byrne. No, I think this layout is a little weird here. Sorry, there's a thing on the back here. These storyboards were also helpfully supplied by Rick, with thanks to Margaret Loesch's office for permission. They show how the creators of the show plan shots in sequence to accompany the script dialogue, broken up into these pictures beneath. Thanks, Rick. So there's this here. So they're kind of like going back and forth on the kind of bottom gutter with these storyboards here. Yeah, that's pretty cool right there. The layout of this page is kind of all over the place here, because it looks here, like on top here, you've got this like outline spider web of like different things. Like this flowchart prepared by X-Men co-producer Rick Hoberg illustrated the many steps that go into making an animated show for TV, from the generation of the actual plot through all the steps such as background stylings and defining the colors, up to the additional dialogue recording and adding of sound effects. The whole process is here. All right, well, back to the article here. Terry Austin period. The composition of the team is that of approximately issue 138, when Kitty was recruited for the team. Dazzler had been introduced along with Kitty some 8 issues before, so her presence on the team in the cartoon doesn't violate the established legend. The hard work and care of all involved has paid off handsomely, creating a pilot with 22 minutes, that's minus commercials, of non-stop action and excitement. But it's only logical Will, Larry, Rick, and Russ are old hands in comics, well known to comic book art followers, all of them with successful and substantive careers at Marvel Comics and elsewhere. While many animated versions of Marvel characters have been brought to the screen by folks who wouldn't know a superhero comic from an issue of Millie the Model. Okay. No shade thrown at Millie the Model. This time it's been done by creators who know and care for the characters and their magnificent Marvel history. Russ Heath's work may be most immediately familiar. Editors jump for his commanding illustrations whenever he's available, as Jim Sellekerp did to get the cover of the very issue you're reading right now, as well as his great G.I. Joe cover for Marvel Age magazine number 56. Some of the illustrations that accompany his character, that accompany this article are model sheets done by Russ Heath, prepared so that animators of the new show will keep the look of the characters consistently excellent. Model sheets, plot lines, and storyboards are worked out at Marvel Productions in Los Angeles. The actual cell work, the painstaking reproduction of drawing after drawing with only 1 minute changes to create the illusion of movement, and its final result on film was done by Mr. Akahi and his wizards at Toei Animation in Japan. And when you reflect on the many ties the X-Men have had to Japan, somehow it only seems appropriate. Then, with vocal talent in the cast and recorded back in Los Angeles, for a complete picture of the process, see the chart accompanying the article in the intricate and complicated procedure, but one most modern cartoon shows must go through before they appear on the tube. See, they had tube TVs because CRTs were king. Incidentally, it's worth mentioning that the animators at Toei described the X-Men as the best animation product they'd ever seen from America, and I completely agree with that. It is fantastic. So much so much so that they did 65 retakes out of their own pocket just to pull off some of the trickier shots. One example is a dynamic shot which picks up the X-Men's Blackbird aircraft and spins about it in vertiginous speed and detail, so much so that the susceptible viewer may reach for the Dramamine. So popular have the mutants become, Toei's head animator have reportedly started collecting all the X-Men material they can find. For those skeptics among you, yes, I can hear you shaking your head there in the back row. The thought of such well-loved characters as X-Men being translated into other media probably has you on guard. And considering the state in which some other heroes have made it to the tube, who can blame you? I love the shot of Wolverine here. Very, very cool. Okay, back to the article here. So to assuage those fears, why don't we go through the characters one by one and look at how they've made the TV transition. Let's start with the heroes. Professor X, the leader of the mutant marvels, is everything you'd expect from his first appearance as an astral image welcoming Kitty Pryde to the X-Mansion. Shorthand for Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. He controls Cerebro as he manipulates the Danger Room. He's even overwhelmed by psychonic backlash, as Charlie tends to think on a regular basis when you think about it. Naturally, he's in a wheelchair. This is before a new body was cloned for him, curing his crippled leg. Stan Lee describes Xavier as a character he particularly identifies with, stoically holding the team together. You may not have ever thought of Stan as stoic, but you argue it with him? What? You may not have ever thought of Stan as stoic, but you argue it with him. Okay. And here he is in all his professorial grandeur. Single fact, more than any other, that should convey the strength and authority of the animated Professor X is that his voice is supplied by John Stevenson, whom trivia buffs may recognize as the voice of Johnny Quest's father, the sage scientist extraordinary, Dr. Benton Quest. Cyclops, the mutant mainstay, Scott Summers, is instantly recognizable, haunted as ever by the force beams constantly emitting from his eyes. His costume has been adjusted slightly for better animation, rather than his eye beam being activated by pressing the palm control, which doesn't read too effectively on screen. Scott touches the side of his visor to trigger the beam. Storm, for nostalgic types, the X-Men's other perennial leader, is outfitted in her original Trevis and flowing cape. There have been model sheets done with her punk look, which producer Rick Hoberg says is equally popular, and perhaps she may adopt the look in future episodes. or even switch back and forth. But all that is for the future. In the present episode, we see her on a mountaintop created in the Danger Room, surrounded by lightning bolts, the quintessential Storm. Wolverine, my hero. Now, maybe you've been thinking, there's no way Logan can be as savage and ferocious on screen as he is in the comics, but his animated incarnation is out to prove you wrong. He uses his trademark adamantium claws to slice up anything that needs slicing, starting with a huge Danger Room robot defending the walls, doors, and defense systems in Asteroid M. And if that doesn't give you a clue who the major villain in the show is, you'd best stay up all night with the X-Men Index. Logan's costume, claws, height, or lack thereof, and personality are all directly identical to his comics appearance, down to the hairs on his arms, to his warning that Kitty may not be tough enough to survive, down to his very real enjoyment in using those claws. There's no doubt at all he's the most lethal on the team. And to go with what my friend Greg told me, with all this talk about how authentic Wolverine is, this does seem to track with the idea that having him with an Australian accent is consistent with how they envisioned Wolverine talking. Okay, here we go. Nightcrawler, okay. You can't smell the stench of the brimstone, but otherwise he's the original fuzzy elf romantic, Austrian accent and all. So they are trying to pay attention to the accents here. So giving Nightcrawler an Austrian accent and giving Wolverine an Australian accent does, I think, track with the idea that they did plan to have Wolverine be Australian. He bamfs about with abandon, he spins the cavorts with acrobatic glee, and he saves the day. Wait a few seconds for the story synopsis while we cover the rest of the characters, okay? Colossus. It's a delight to watch Peter transform from his narrow frame to armored silver powerhouse. As Stanley notes, his Russian accent, there's that accent again, is a particular pleasure. Colossus rips through steel walls, looks around the havoc he has created in the villain's stronghold as he says, he's good. Kitty Pryde, the Jubilee before there was Jubilee. The X-Men pilot is loosely based on Kitty's joining the team, although the menace that gives her a baptism of fire has been changed to Magneto, the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. New readers may not remember that there was a time when Kitty, now toughened by her experiences with Wolverine in Japan, was insecure and frightened by her new powers, but it's been recreated here, including her initial repulsion to Nightcrawler and her subsequent admiration and affection for him. While her TV personality goes back to the beginning, though her TV costume is completely up to date, it's the blue blouse, leotard, and tights outfit she currently wears. Dazzler, though not a member of the team when Kitty joined, Dazzler was around back then, and her presence gives the team a better male-female balance. Jean Grey / Phoenix may appear in the future, but her story alone would take up to 22 episodes. Would take up the episode's full 22 minutes to explain at least. Alison Blair's light powers were also especially effective in animation. In a way, after all, any cartoon is ultimately just a series of images and light. Dazzler's outfitted in a blue jumpsuit she currently wears, sorry roller skate fans, accompanied by a brick-colored jacket, and looks indeed dazzling. Lockheed, let's face it, it's a given that the world of animation, that any team cartoon show features a cute animal. So who better to fill that fill that bill than Lockheed the Dragon? He's a dead ringer for his comics incarnation, as he's discovered on Magneto's Asteroid M, apparently just as an extraterrestrial, a very long phone call from home, who decides to adopt Kitty. In a funny throwaway bit, Toad is seen chasing Lockheed in his spare time, evoking those types who like to pull the wings off flies for fun. That covers the good guys. Other members such as Rogue may be introduced in the future to join the team when the continuity is right to bring them in. And older members such as Iceman and the Angel may also appear as forthcoming episodes give the creative team an opportunity to detail the rich and glorious legacy of the rich and detailed history of Xavier's legacy. Meanwhile, let's review the malcontents, ne'er-do-wells, the bad guys. Magneto, as mentioned, of Asteroid M, should have clued you in. The Master of Magnetism is on hand in his original villainous incarnation. Perhaps in episodes far in the future, he'll evolve to his present benevolent persona, but that is for the future. For now, you couldn't ask for a more sinister villain. Using devices on board Asteroid M, Magneto plans to collide the Scorpio comet into the Earth, borrowing from Char's counterattack, sounds like right there, thus wiping out much of humanity and leaving mutants to rule over the survivors, towering over any other character in the show with a voice that could shake mountains and eyes that glare powerfully from the shadows of his helmet. He's obviously one of the premier Marvel villains, as he has often done. Magneto is leading the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, employing their terrorist tactics toward the goal of world domination over hapless Homo sapiens. The Brotherhood, assembled for the show, contains members of both old and new Brotherhood. Its members are Blob, the Toad, Pyro, Juggernaut, and in a surprise move, the White Queen. The White Queen, now adamantly, the White Queen isn't a member of either Brotherhood, old or new, but the team needed a woman member who was completely, undeniably villainous, so characters like Scarlet Witch or Rogue wouldn't do. But hey, you're going to complain about a character who looks as great as Emma Frost, even with her ensemble tailored ever so slightly to the comfort of a children's show standards. She's still a woman. Anyone with a Y chromosome would love to have threatening you with destruction. Man, I miss when comic books were written for, a male audience. Okay, I don't want to go on that rant here. White Queen effortlessly decimates an army division at the opening of the X-Men pilot, an act of carnage that starts the action off at a breakneck pace. The Blob, this is one of my personal favorites in the show, when he boasts in his dumb, gruff, carny worker voice, "Nothing can move the Blob." I believe him. Yeah, the guy's a chunk, looking identical to his comics persona in his Freedom Force style outfit, and he sounds like a blob too. His presence here is only logical when you stop to consider he's the longest lived member of the Brotherhood, dating back from the original group's organization. Check your copy of X-Men Marvel Masterworks for the tale. All the way to its current operations for the government. Juggernaut. And if nothing can move the Blob, nothing can stop Jugs either. His helmet has been slightly modified with 2 bands to secure his helmet to the body of the costume. This wasn't done to protect the helmet, although maybe Kane Marco should consider the idea, but rather to help the character animate better. The bands allow the artist to suggest his head turning, where the normal pot-like helmet would not allow. That kind of flexibility, though not normally a member of the Brotherhood, his continuity is still intact. He remains the evil stepbrother of Charles Xavier, Professor X. The Toad, another premier member of the Brotherhood, Toad adds to the villainy on hand, answering all of television's questions about what Peter Lorre's little brother would be like. Old Toady cringes and cowers in fine fettle, and you know how painful that can be, looking every bit the wimpy henchman you've come to know and love. Pyro, he's lean, he's mean, he's Australian, much like Wolverine. His fire powers make him a particularly strong choice for animation, and as with the Toad, his costume is a perfect replica of the one found in Marvel Comics. There you have it, 15 major Marvel characters, all of whom, believe it or not, are introduced and given their moment to shine in a breakneck 22 minutes of action. This astonished feat was pulled off by writer Larry Parr, a true scripting pro. And if you look down here are the storyboards of the page, fleshed out and gave life to a basic plot by Menyo, Hoberg, and Houston with Stanley Consulting. Here's the basic outline of the pilot, entitled Pryde of the X-Men. The voice of Stanley himself introduces the show, warning you that the age of mutants is upon us, that anyone you know, even the person sitting next to you, might be a mutant. A caravan of an army trucks across a desolate plain, transporting their prisoner, the malevolent Magneto, held captive by a stasis field. The guards are more than a bit freaked out by their assignment. They know how dangerous evil mutants can be. And they're about to get a second lesson. For suddenly, they're under attack by the White Queen, using her mental powers as a force bolt to scatter the guards. She frees her ally Magneto, who flies off into the night with Hero boasting of his ultimate plans to rule Homo sapiens. In Westchester, a cab driver drops Kitty Pryde off at Xavier's mansion and speeds away without looking back. Kitty holds a letter from Charles Xavier, offering her help with her new powers. Who is he? How does he know about her phasing? Entering the mansion, she is greeted by Xavier's astral image. He ushers her back to meet him in the flesh, standing at the control panel of Cerebro, the amazing computer. He explains he helps track down mutants so that he can help them adjust their powers and assist in the battle against evil mutants. He shows her Cerebro's mutant power circuit, which allows a mutant to enhance his normal abilities. This is how Xavier's telepathic powers are extended through Cerebro to locate emerging mutants. Kitty starts to break down at the news that she definitely is a mutant, a freak, but Xavier consoles her. At one time we were all afraid, he tells her, and with that he shows her the danger room where she sees the X-Men in action. For the first time, Cyclops, Storm, Colossus, Wolverine, Dazzler, and Nightcrawler, who teleports into the control room and kisses Kitty's hand gently. Terrified by the sight and probably smell of him, Kitty phases away through the mansion's computer system, disrupting its defenses and allowing the entrance of Magneto. Together with Juggernaut, he seizes the MPC from the overwhelmed Xavier and Nightcrawler, and the terrified Kitty, leaving Magneto, urges Kitty to join him rather than Xavier, since humans hate and fear mutants as their natural superiors. By the time the rest of the team arrives, the two villains are gone. Kitty, guilty over not being able to keep the MPC safe from Magneto, is consoled by Dazzler. None of them, she confides, would be able to stand alone against Magneto. News reports clue the team into more exploits of the Brotherhood. The Blob and Pyro are holding a family captive at a local observatory. Why? Their sinister purpose is a secret for now. The X-Men free the captives, but the villains escape, and the rescued family is scared of the X-Men as they are of the Brotherhood. Xavier, through telepathic probes, discovers Magneto's plan through the observatory. He located the Scorpio comet, and he plans to use MPC to tear the comet from its orbit, send it toward the Earth. The resulting cloud of dust and debris would send our planet into a new ice age where most of humanity will die off, and mutants led by Magneto will emerge to rule over the survivors. The team prepares to board the Blackbird to jet out to Asteroid M. Kitty insists on going along, but Wolverine is skeptical. She's just a kid. I'm not a kid, she declares. I'm 14 years old, and she vows to show them she can cut it with the best of them. Donning her own costume, she sets out to join them. Stowing away aboard the craft through her phasing power, she is right there with the team when they don their space gear and assault Asteroid M. There, they make short work of the Brotherhood. Dazzler, overwhelms Pyro. Wolverine tosses Toad aside like an old sandwich. Colossus bests Juggernaut. Nightcrawler outwits the Blob, and Cyclops blasts White Queen. Kitty and Nightcrawler make it through to Magneto's Sanctorium, but he gloats in victory. The Scorpio Comet is headed for Earth thanks to the magnification of his powers by the MPC, but through phasing, Kitty knocks Magneto off balance so that one of his magnetic blasts damages the MPC link-up, pulling the Scorpio Comet toward asteroid M itself. The Earth will be saved, but will Nightcrawler? He's using his own body to keep the MPC link-up intact, continuing to guide the comet. The rest of the team evacuates, but Nightcrawler stays, sacrificing himself. How can he teleport into the Blackbird? It's too far away. Xavier tries to pilot the craft near enough for Nightcrawler to bamf aboard, but the comet hits. The asteroid is destroyed. Kitty regrets her fear of Nightcrawler. She's never seen anything so brave. Just then, Nightcrawler appears outside the aircraft. He bamfed himself into the void of space. He cannot survive, can he? Well, of course he can. From within Kitty's locker, he emerged safe and sound, if a bit exhausted. Kitty apologizes to him, making up for her earlier feelings. She's made a true friend, and she has another friend. The little dragon, Lockheed, apparently an indigenous resident of Asteroid M, adopts her as well. Everyone happily welcomes Kitty to the team, except Wolverine. So what if she survived a simple mission like this? That don't make her an X-Man. Not yet, he growls. And there you have it. It's the closest thing to a Marvel comic yet to be produced, and is one of the most enjoyable things I've seen on TV, a TV screen, in a long time. I agree. I love this. And also, if you take a look here, there is the Storm model sheet that was discussed earlier, showing her, punk and early 80s, late 70s looks. So, very cool. This design for Storm, I think, is a lot better than the one that is being featured in X-Men 97. This one looks powerful and feminine. Very masterfully drawn here. Anyway, totally devoid of camp and tongue-in-cheek nonsense, produced and written by people as fond of the characters as we are. We'll keep you posted here in Marvel Age magazine with further production and air date details as soon as we have them. In the meantime, you can start learning the words to the soon-to-be immortal X-Men theme song as penned by Stan the Man himself. So if you didn't know, Stan Lee apparently wrote the theme song to Pryde of the X-Men, and as you know, it goes like this. No place to hide, no place to run. The mutant age has now begun. X-Men, X-Men, this is their day, this is their day. X-Men, X-Men, coming your way. Magneto's hordes are on the way to pillage, burn, and plunder. But there's one team that will not yield, the team that strikes like thunder. X-Men, X-Men, this is their day. X-Men, X-Men, coming your way. Brian Nelson. And if you look at the bottom here, you see more very cool storyboard shots from Pryde of the X-Men. Now, unfortunately, the producers of this show did not want, apparently, you can find interviews on YouTube, Stan Lee narrating the Fox Kids X-Men cartoon, which I think is a total dick move, since I think Stan Lee narrating this was great and added a lot of kind of credibility and charm to the show. So I think Stan Lee not narrating the more famous 90s X-Men is a detriment to the show. But Pryde of the X-Men has Stan the Man. Let's take a look at some other Marvel Age magazine's coverage of Pryde of the X-Men. Nothing as in-depth as this, but there is a little bit, there's some interesting stuff here that we should check out here. Okay, so these were ads that I found online, and I just thought I would share them with you and some other little blurbs from Marvel Age magazine as it results and relates to Pryde of the X-Men. Here you see Stan Lee very happily showing off these VHS tapes of Pryde of the X-Men and Spider-Man. There's a little ad for the Marvel Action Universe, which is what hosted Pryde of the X-Men. And here are some model sheets of the X-Men here. Now, I'll show you guys in the back of the Marvel Age magazine that I have. There is a full color height chart of the X-Men that was used by the animation staff. Apparently there's a little special here in Marvel Age magazine where you can get animation cells from Pryde of the X-Men. And let's read this here. Remember the X-Men animated pilot? Of course you do. What loyal Marvelite could forget that cartoon classic, which aired back in fall of 1988? Well, here's your chance to own a little piece of that apex of animated excitement. The fine folks at Stauber Graphics are offering high-quality cells from the X-Men pilot for sale. These are actually the original cells that were actually used in the production of the X-Men pilot. Each cell comes matted onto a beautiful full-color background reproduction, a certificate of authenticity included with each cell. The cell range in price from $50 to $150, depending on which characters appear in the cell. Paul Burke, president of Stauber Graphics, noted the Wolverine cells and group shots are particularly high sellers. 2 of the X-Men cells were auctioned off at Christie's, a prestigious auction firm, on November 19th. Paul said he expected these specially prepared cells to go for thousands of dollars. This is one of the few times that recent cells were allowed into auction. Usually Christie's only auctions off classic cartoon cells. Stauber is offering a limited edition of 200 lavishly hand-painted X-Men cells ranging in price anywhere from $100 to $400. If you're interested in purchasing some X-Men cells, you can call Stauber's 800 number for a catalog. The number is 1-800-346-8940, or you can write to them at Stauber Graphics, 23301 Meadow Park, Redford, Michigan, 48239. But hurry, those Wolverine cells are going fast. So call your catalog today. Remember, no mutant collection is complete without an X-Men animated cell. All right, very cool, very cool. This issue, these are the issues of Marvel Age that features this. Now, this story here is a little 2-page story about how the Pryde of the X-Men was turned into a, I guess you could call it a, well, I used to call these like cinemanga when they would use the anime to in comic book form, but so they're doing that with Pryde of the X-Men. Let's take a look at the Mutant Report number 9, volume 5. Here we go. The latest edition of the ever-growing library of X-Men books and magazines is something entirely different from anything Marvel has published before. It's a graphic novel adaptation of Pryde of the X-Men, the pilot episode for X-Men animated TV show produced a few years ago by Marvel Productions. Unfortunately, the pilot never led to an ongoing X-Men TV series, but it is shown on television and at comic conventions and has been released on video cassette. Now you can see the story in graphic novel form with all the artwork taken directly from the animated film itself. This 64-page book was scripted by Danny Fingeroth and edited by Bob Budiansky. The artwork, of course, was done by the many Marvel Productions staffers who labored on the animated film. The story isn't part of the official continuity of X-Men comics. Instead, it combines many elements from the comic book, mostly from the years that Chris Claremont and John Byrne collaborated on the classic series, most recently reprinted in Classic X-Men, to tell a brand new adventure story. The X-Men you will see in the pilot are Professor Xavier, Cyclops, Wolverine, Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler, and the Dazzler, plus Kitty Pryde, alias Shadowcat, who is actually the story's central character. You'll see some of the X-Men's greatest villains, and even Kitty's pet alien dragon, Lockheed. The story is basically a new version of Kitty's first case with the X-Men, as Bob Budiansky explains, the story begins with Kitty Pryde first coming to the X-Mansion, meeting the X-Men, and joining the team. We see the X-Men, and we do see the X-Men right here. Next page. We see the X-Men up there, too. Practicing and training in the Danger Room with Professor X supervising. Meanwhile, Magneto is being transported into a special prison. He breaks out and links up with the rest of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, who are called the Brotherhood of Mutant Terrorists in the TV pilot, and include the Blob, Pyro, and White Queen, even though she's not a mutant, and the Juggernaut. Oh, sorry, White Queen is a mutant, and even though he's not a mutant, the Juggernaut. Sorry about that. Yes, the Juggernaut is not a mutant. He has a magic gem that turned him into the Juggernaut. Magneto and the Juggernaut attack Xavier's mansion, and later the entire Brotherhood moves to Magneto's asteroid space station, where they put into motion a plot to wipe out all non-mutant human beings on Earth. It's up to the X-Men, including their newest member, to stop them. Kitty's very unsure of herself initially, Bob says, but eventually she plays a key role in stopping Magneto. The process of putting together this adaptation was very different than doing a standard comic book. Instead of having the story redrawn in comics form, all artwork was taken directly from film. Bob explains, essentially, Danny Fingeroth had to sit in a room for 3 or 4 days with a machine like a VCR, I'm guessing that's a laser disc, with a freeze frame control. He had to pick the individual frames from the film that he wanted the studio to reproduce for us. That was a grueling process for Danny. He had to watch the same 22-minute video over and over again. Well, I just do that in my free time. And continually stop and rewind it to find the exact frames he wanted. I believe in animation there were 12 frames per second, so multiply that times 60 seconds, 22 minutes, and you've got a lot of frames to pick through. So Danny designed the basic layout of the book. He figured out which frames told the story and how many frames he could fit within the limits of a 64-page book, and then he scripted the book following the original TV script. We played around with the basic layout to have more variation of panel shapes and so forth. Basically, Marvel Productions took a copy of the film and just cut it up and gave us the exact frames that we wanted. Each frame of the film is very tiny, so we had to blow up each frame in a color Xerox to the size it would be in the book, and then have a letter in the word balloons. We had to make approximately 350 color Xeroxes, so it was a very unusual process. It's not the usual way we do comics around here, but despite all the work it took, Bob is very pleased with the result. I think it'll work very well, he says. We've done this sort of thing before for our adaptation of Nelvana animated movie Rock and Roll. I think this one will come out just as well, if not better, and Bob is confident that this book will find a wide and highly appreciative audience. For those people who saw the show on TV and liked it, but didn't have a copy, here's a print copy. For those people who missed it on TV, but are X-Men fans, here's a chance to add something to their collection that's rather neat. It's the first X-Men project that we've done that takes the art from something that's been filmed. And that's what makes this adaptation of the X-Men TV pilot a unique addition to any Marvel fan's collection. So this is like the opposite of the Jack Kirby drawings that were crudely animated in the Namor cartoon. You're taking, the film and turning it into a comic here. These are some covers and back covers to the different VHS variants of Pryde of the X-Men. This is the original. And what I want to show you guys now is the height chart that I have here. Okay, so yes, this is the height chart that was shown in the back page of my Marvel Age magazine, and you just can see they did pay attention to trying to give everyone a consistent height. Magneto's 6'10", it's as tall as Colossus, and Juggernaut is 8 feet tall, which is pretty crazy. Professor X, 4'8" sitting down, and Dazzler is 5'9", which is what my driver's license says that I am. And Wolverine doesn't seem like he's 5'1" in the anime, but compared to other characters when standing next to each other, he in fact is. And there you have it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. This is all the information I could find in print and just an experience about arguably my favorite American cartoon of all time, The Pryde of the X-Men. Super inspirational for me, something that mesmerized me and really made me love X-Men. So until next time, guys, my name is Noel. You take care, and I'll see you in the very near future for more comic book fun and excitement on the Noel Comics YouTube channel. Bye-bye.